Hey guys, it's Sarah, and today is BookList Thursday. This is a video series I do with my friend Lindsay over at Lindsay's Little Library. And every Thursday we bring you some sort of list or book topic that we feel like talking about for the week. And today we are going to be doing the mid-year book freakout tag. This is a tag that was created years ago that everyone does every year in the middle of the year. It always happens. It's a big thing and everyone's videos are starting to come out. And so Lindsay and I definitely planned on doing it anyway. So we're like, let's make it a book list thing. So we're going to be doing it this week. So this is just a fun tag that asks a bunch of questions about your reading so far and kind of what you're thinking about for the rest of the year. So let's get into it. Okay, question number one is always the big doozy, and it's always, what is the best book you've read so far this year? I have 4 sitting here because I don't know how I'm going to make a decision. I feel like I have maybe one that's but it's not far, so I don't know. Oh gosh. So let's kind of do it a little bit by some categories here. So I have 2 romances that I have read this year that have just been completely blown me away. First one is One True Loves by Taylor Jenkins Reid. Absolutely love this book. Obsessed with her. Second one, Part of Your World by Abby Jimenez. I am now obsessed with her. We're going to talk more about this one later. Also, a favorite of mine so far this year is Bathhouse by PJ Vernon. Oh my goodness, I loved this book. Dark, messed up, loved it. I cannot wait to read more from this author. Just fantastic. And the one that's kind of inching a little bit more is Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. I love this book so much. Every time I even think about it, I just get this big smile on my face because I loved it. The audiobook is probably the best audiobook I've ever listened to in my entire life. It was so good. And just barely, but I think this is probably number 1. This prompt is the best sequel you've read this year. And this was interesting because I've read some sequels, but I haven't loved them. I've been a little bit let down by some of the sequels I've been reading. So my favorite so far is actually middle grade, and that is A Grim Morning, which is part of the Land of Story series by Chris Colfer. This is book number 3, and I really just enjoyed this. I enjoyed this series. It's a lot of fun. It is middle grade, so it's nothing completely mind-blowing, but they're a lot of fun. This had a lot of Revolutionary War type themes in it, which was really cool. So it was just fun to get back into this world and, experience what was happening through it. So this is one that I really enjoyed. The next question is, what is a new release that you are very excited about but just haven't read yet? Book Lovers by Emily Henry. One of my most anticipated books of the entire year, like probably number 1. Haven't read it yet. It's sitting here. I have it. I'm super excited. I'm hearing amazing things. I can't wait. I cannot wait. I was starting to think I was in a little bit of a slump recently, and I was thinking about picking it up, but I was like, but I needed to be in a better headspace going into this because I know this is probably going to be a favorite. So I wanted to make sure I gave it every opportunity to be enjoyable instead of going into it when I wasn't in a very good mood about reading. So I even have a bookmark. I haven't started it yet, but my friend Amanda from The Curly Reader designed some summer bookmarks, and one of them has quotes from Book Lovers in it because she read it and absolutely loved it too. So I bought one of these as soon as she released them in her shop. I'll have that link down below if you guys are interested. But yeah, so I'm ready. I got my bookmark ready. I will be reading this very soon. Okay, next question is, what is your most anticipated release for the second half of the year? Hands down, The Last Housewife by Ashley Winstead. I cannot wait for this book. I am so excited for it. I've already pre-ordered it. It's coming out in August. I actually can't wait. I'm so excited. I'm chomping at the bit to get this one. This is an adult, it's going to be like a thrillery type of book, and it's going to be dark, and it involves cults, and I'm so here for it. I'm so here for it. I absolutely loved her first book last year, which was In My Dreams to Hold a Knife. That was one of my favorite books of the year last year, and so when I found out she has this one coming out this year, it immediately went on my list, and I just cannot wait to read that book. Okay, biggest disappointment so far. Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas. The final book in the Throne of Glass series, which I have loved, the series. However, this almost 1,000-page book was really kind of disappointing to me. And I'm still trying to figure out if it's me or if it's the book. I don't really know. I kind of don't want to take the full blame for this one, but it's the end of a series, so I was expecting just bigger things, I guess, from it, and I felt like it was just a lot of filler. And in a final book, you should not have any filler. You should be wrapping everything up, which it did, but I don't know. It was weird. I do have a whole spoilery reading vlog of this book, of the entire series, actually, if you're interested in that. I will link my playlist for that down below, but I read every single book in the series and I did spoilery vlogs as I was reading each book. So very spoilery, so don't go into it if you have not read this series yet. But yeah, so more of my thoughts and feelings in a little bit more detail is definitely in that video. Okay, next question is, what has been the biggest surprise this year? And I do have 2 books for this one because I couldn't narrow it down. First one I read pretty early on in the year, and that is The Serpent King by Jeff Zentner. I absolutely loved this book, and it really took me by surprise. I was expecting to pick this up and just think it was fine or whatever. It's a YA, it's fine. I loved it. I loved every minute of this book. I cried, you guys. I don't cry. I don't cry in books. It takes a lot. And this one got me. It really got me. My husband was in the room with me when I hit a point where I was crying, and he was like, "Are you okay?" I was like, "Don't look at me. Don't even look at me." Can I handle this right now? It was so good. Oh my gosh, you guys, so good. And another big surprise was The Storyteller by Dave Grohl. And this is one that I listened to on audio because he narrates it, and I highly recommend the audio. It's fantastic. It's got some musical elements in there as well. But I bought it while I was listening to it because I knew I wanted to put a bunch of book darts in here, which I did. And I wanted to have this on my shelves because it is such a gem. And I liked Dave Grohl before I read this book, but now I love him. So I don't even think you really need to be a huge Dave Grohl fan in order to enjoy this book. You do kind of need to have a little bit of a basic knowledge of that he was the drummer in Nirvana, and then he was the lead singer of Foo Fighters, you know, that kind of stuff. I think that's kind of basic knowledge, but he goes into so many different things, and he does talk about Kurt Cobain in here, which he doesn't talk about publicly a whole lot because he still has a really hard time with that and how that affected everybody around him in his life and everything. So, but he does go into it a little bit in here. And yeah, it was just fantastic. I loved it. So the next one, we're just going to talk about the same book for the next 3 questions. I'm not kidding. So the next question is, who's your newest favorite author? I could also say PJ Vernon with Bathhouse for that as well, but also Abby Jimenez. Oh my gosh, you guys. I picked up this book because I felt like I was getting into a slump, and I was really like, oh, just not feeling reading, and I just needed something good and quick and that would make me happy. And I'd heard such good things about this one, and I even asked on Instagram, like, I feel like I'm a little bit slumpy. What would you guys recommend? And a bunch of people said either Abby Jimenez or Part of Your World specifically, and I was like, I have that. I'll pick it up. No problem. You guys were not kidding. I loved this book, and I'm screaming about it from the rooftops whenever anyone's reading it. I'm like, yes, tell me your thoughts. Like, I loved it so much. I really did. Like, I shouldn't say it surprised me because I'd heard good things about it, and I'd heard good things about Abby Jimenez, actually. I just hadn't picked anything up by her yet. And it was fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I'm 100% on the love train for this one. And I definitely now need all of the Abby Jimenez. I need all of her books now. Okay, so that brings us to the next question. Newest fictional crush. Daniel. Daniel is what I needed because I was reading a couple of books that I'm going to say lean more on the feminist side of things, where the men were awful, like awful. Not that there's not awful men out there. Obviously there are. But I was reading books from characters who every man around them were awful. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I need a good man. Like, I need a good, strong, good character that's going to give me faith in the male gender again. Like, please, like, I need a really good male character. And that's exactly what this delivered. Daniel is a gem and must be protected at all costs. I love him. I love him. It helped that I pictured him as Chris Pratt. But, oh my gosh, you guys, Daniel is fantastic, and he was exactly what I needed. One more time, and then I'll put it down, I promise. Newest favorite character, Bree. Bree, who was our main character's best friend. She was fantastic. She reminds me of my best friend, and I loved her so much. I loved her so much. She made me laugh so much. And I wanted to know more about her, and I wanted her in more scenes because I loved her so much. And then I did hear that Brie is getting her own book, and I'm so excited. Like, that will definitely be a most anticipated book for me. Hopefully next year, I think it might be when that's happening. So I know it's in the works, but oh my gosh, Brie, I loved her. Okay, the next one is a book that made you cry. I've already mentioned The Serpent King, definitely made me cry. Another one that made me cry was Sweep by Jonathan Auxier. This is a middle grade book about a young girl who is a chimney sweep in London, in Victorian London. And oh man, you guys, this one got me. This one made me cry. And I was messaging my friends who were telling me to read this book, and I was yelling at them because they made me cry. I loved it. I loved it so much. This book is so beautiful. And you know, another one that I would scream from the rooftops that everybody needs to read. It's so good. And it made me cry. Okay, the next one is a book that made me happy. And this is a book I don't own. I would like to own a copy of it. I just don't have one yet. And that is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmis. I listened to this one on audio from my library. The audio was fantastic, but I want a copy for my shelves because this book is another one that actually took me by surprise because I had heard good things and I was kind of interested, and I was like, yeah, maybe we'll see. And then I put it on hold for audio, and it came up pretty quickly. So I was like, sweet. So I went ahead and listened to it, and I loved it. Oh my gosh. It was funny, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of The Love Hypothesis, a little bit like we are following a woman in STEM, but the difference is that she is living in the 50s and 60s. And so, you know, in that time period, women were more apt to be at home and be the housewife, and the husband goes to work and all that kind of stuff. So her being in any type of professional field at all was a little bit risque, if you will. And not only that, she's in the science profession. So it was hard for men to take her seriously. So many men would mistake her for a secretary walking around the building, and she's just like, what? So, you know, it was very much like a feminist leaning that way as well, where like a lot of the men, not every single one, but a lot of the men in her life were not taking her seriously, and they were just awful people to her. And so you got a lot of that. And she was fantastic. Her character was fantastic. And yeah, I absolutely loved it. And it surprised me, and it just made me happy. Like, I was listening to it constantly because I just wanted to keep going and keep listening to it. And I just had a smile on my face the whole time. Okay, the next one is the most beautiful book you've either purchased or received this year. I received this one. Thank you, Disa. You guys. Okay, so this is House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. This is book number 2 in her Crescent City series, which I have not started yet. I know, it's fine. But, okay, it's massive, hugely massive. But you guys, this cover is just, I don't even know who this is. I don't care. It's stunning. And the inside end papers. Okay, well, number 1, you got the moon there, which is beautiful. You guys, it is so pretty. Like, I could just stare at this all day. It is so gorgeous. Like, oh man, I can't. It's so pretty. And it's the same on the, oh, it's a little different. Oh, it's a little different. Oh, okay. It's a little bit different. There's a couple little subtle differences there, but oh my gosh, it is so beautiful. Like, these books, her books are always so gorgeous. I just can't even get over it. But this one definitely for sure is the most eye-catching that I've had. Okay, and the last question I don't like, but it's what books do you still need to read by the end of the year? Take your pick. But I'll probably just go ahead and say any book on my most anticipated releases that I haven't read yet. I've read them. I've been reading some, and I'm keeping track of it. But yeah, there's a bunch on that list that I have access to, whether I own them or I have them from NetGalley. Like, you know, I have a lot of the books that are my most anticipated releases this year. I just need to read them, and I haven't done that yet. So I'm just going to go ahead and say that, because I don't think there's anything else that I like have big plans for to read 100% this year. I have to read this book type thing. So I'll just say anything I haven't read yet from those lists. And that's it, guys. That is the mid-year book freakout tag. I love that tag. It's a lot of fun just to kind of reflect on what you read so far and what you want to be doing going forward. It's just kind of a good reminder to keep out for that kind of stuff. But make sure you go check out Lindsay today. She's doing the same tag. I'm excited to see what her answers are going to be. And we will see you guys again soon. Hope you have a great day. Bye.